Well, good morning. Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome in this morning. It's an amazing day to live on purpose and to make it a great day on purpose and to help do something today that can help you in the direction of the best decision that you can ever make, which is to tap into your full potential and unlock whatever is next for you. It's day 21 of the month, and studies show that it typically takes at least 21 days to build or break, start or stop any particular habit, any particular discipline. And so at the 21-day mark, I'm excited that we've had to dive into this inner work for the past 21 days. And by now, I know your mind is going. And the people who are okay with where they are, the people who are comfortable where they are, this means nothing to them. But to the person who's saying, I just want to be a better me, this means everything to you. So I want to dive right into the conversation, and let me say good morning, Keita Lynn, good morning, Reverend Monica. Good seeing you yesterday. Monica Robinson has always been a very influential person, not just her, but her husband, Tim Robinson, as well, Pastor Tim. They've always been, since I was a teenager, they embraced me as a son. And so I'm grateful for all of these years and to still be connected, man. And that speaks volumes. It really does. It speaks volumes. And so for people to see you grow, and for people to even embrace you in different seasons of your life, that speaks to the person who understands and even identifies what's on you. Pastor Hayes, Pastor Leland Hayes, good morning to you. And so listen, we've been talking a lot about becoming self-aware and increasing your self-knowledge. You need to know you. Get reacquainted with yourself. And the only way that you can understand yourself is to take time to actually get to know yourself. Last week we talked a little bit about that, getting to know you. And sometimes we're so focused on knowing everyone else that we don't take the time to get to know ourselves. And the impact on that is that you'll live your life knowing everyone else's likes and dislikes. You'll know live your life to please people, and then after you're done pleasing them, you're not pleased within yourself. And so the conversation centers a lot around self-awareness and knowing you and being aware of you. And it's impossible to know what you want if you don't know who you are, because you do not start with the what, you have to start with the who. When you know who you are helps clarify and clear up what it is you will do or desire to do. And so our lives are constantly moving in the direction of our strongest thoughts. And so if your thoughts are about other people and doing what they want more than having your own set of desires, then your life has moved in the direction of making sure everyone else is good, which is okay. But at the end of the day, if you're not good, you can't help nobody else be good. All right. Now, y'all know my Southern tongue and my language may not always be English 101, but I'm going to tell you this. what I'm saying is right and what I'm saying is real, you got to look out for you. You got to be big on you, man. I'm telling you, I'm big on me right now. And it's not that I'm conceited. It's not that I'm cocky. It's not that I'm arrogant. But I do know this at the same time, that a competent and confident person will always serve as some type of controversy for a person who is not. Proactive people know what you want. You know where you desire to go. You have a destination in mind, and you're headed in that direction. And being headed in that direction of becoming a better you and not just doing more things, it sometimes put people in limbo with you. It will put people, you will be a moment that will put you at odds with people. When you are goal driven, that people who are not will come at you like with no end, and it will not be strangers. It will be close people. It will be people who you have confided in. It will be people that you probably never expected would say some of the things that they say. But let me tell you something. This wasn't a conference call. This wasn't an interest meeting of sorts. When you were created, God created you as his own idea and a unique expression of himself to be favored in this earth while you are alive. God did not ask anyone for permission to have an idea of you. You are God's idea. And since you are his idea, his desire is that we express who we are at the core, who we are and who we were created to be, and serve this present generation. Man, if you're not giving the world who you are right now, what are you waiting on? I mean, are you gonna give it to? I mean, are you waiting for the next life? I mean, because I don't, you really do only have one life to live, and so the value and importance of this is that we choose now to do the work. And let me say this before I dive into this: it takes work, and most people stop at desire. Most people who are alive right now, studies show, do not know or are not clear about what they desire in life. And it's not because they don't want to know, but for many it's because they don't know how to know. And so we've been doing our work here to help you answer how. And in that very train of thought, it's the how, right? It's not just the what, it's the how. In that train of thought, here's what we want to look at. We want to look at values and living a value-based life. On last week, we talked about increasing, raising the bar. We gave at the acrostic, the acronym. We gave the bar. Believe in yourself and your ability, mother, to achieve and grow. Believe in yourself and your potential. A, aspire to reach higher. And then R, refuse to settle for anything less than you deserve and raise your expectations of yourself. And so when you raise your own expectations, then you now become the person who is responsible for doing and making it happen. And responsibility, I say, is your response to the ability that God has given you. You have the ability to achieve. You have the ability to accomplish. You have the ability to do it. You have the ability, more so, not just to do it, but to become it. And so when we look at the how, it leads us to this conversation on living a value-based life. Living a value-based life simply says this: what matters to you most? Now, remember, a big part of what we are establishing throughout all of these conversations is that you have to ask yourself the right questions. And then after you ask yourself the question, you yes must answer the question. Don't let nobody tell you you crazy if you ask yourself a question and then answer it. No, 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 no. It's crazy if you ask it and don't answer it. I mean, because the objective of a question is to get an answer. And here's the good news. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. Here's the good news, Lady Connie. Here's the good news, Frank Craig. Here's the good news. The answers are already in you, right? I need you to stop right now, and I need you to just I need you to tell yourself the answers are already in me. I need you to tell yourself right now, it's already here. It's inside. It's inside of me. The answers are already there. The answers are already there, and they are within. And so when we work through these frameworks, it helps us to unlock the answers that are already inside of us. Amen. It's already in you. You just got to believe in you. It's already in you. You just got to raise the bar in order to see who you really are. It's already in you, Carr. It's just requiring that we become so self-aware that we now are looking at the how. And how do, where do we start? We start with, in fact, making sure that we are knowing who we are. I said this. Sometimes the process of knowing who you are, defining who you are, it starts with determining who you are not. All right. The process of discovering who you are many times starts with determining who you are not. John says, they say, are you the one? And he says, no, listen, before I tell you who I am, let me tell you who I am not. I am not the Messiah. I know it may look like it, he says, but I am not him. And sometimes there were people who have, Lady LaDonna, they have expectations upon you, and they're putting expectations upon you that are someone else's identity, right? They're expecting you to be the expression of someone else, and that's not you, and it'll never happen. And so sometimes we have to first determine who we are not, and that we will not be a carbon copy of someone else, that we will, that we will glean from people, but that we will never we will never just try to become them, but we will always, at the root of it, know who we are, so that once I know the who, I can then determine the what, and now I can get into the how. Values are this very premise. The values, the goal is the what, but the values become the how. I said it, the goals are the what, but the values are the how. There's no shortage on goals. There's no shortage. There's no shortage on people saying what they want to do. But again, most people stop at desire. Having the desire to do it is present with most people, but it's the discipline that is the difference from desire and destiny. The difference between destiny and desire is, in fact, discipline. And so I believe that a part of our context is that we don't just promote setting goals, but that we really focus on setting standards or values, disciplines that will help us become the type of person who has the capacity to be what we want to build, right? And so it requires that we raise the bar. And I want to get into this, and I'm going to say a little bit about it today, and then we'll pick back up tomorrow. But it's identifying your values, what matters the most. It's those behaviors, it's those activities that you are naturally drawn to. May I ask you a question? What drives you? What is it that just drives you, and in a good way? I'm not, not in a bad way, but identifying both can be healthy, because if you identify things that drive you in a positive way as well as things that may drive you in a negative way, it helps to know both. Because if it's driving you in a negative connotation, then there's something that you have now identified that you've got to do the work to undo, to withdraw from, to say no to. And while it may be challenging, it's challenging either way. It's challenging either way. And so what is it that you are naturally drawn to, right? What drives you? What is it that when you do it, you can do it effortlessly? Like there was that, like you don't even have you don't have to be coached into it. You just do it, and you can. I mean, when you do it, it just flows. It's obvious that that's who you are. I made a post Sunday, and I said my testimony is I was born for this, and it's to that end. It's to that end. It's to that end that I know that I made a choice, and the choice that I made was that I would help people, myself included, right? Because you can't help anyone else any further than the extent that you've helped yourself. And so I made a decision that personal development is an area that I wanted to dive into, because I believe that God has given me the ability to walk alongside people, whether it's in a personal or professional capacity, and help them see it happen. And it's my joy is to see it happen for them, right? And whatever I can do, and however that looks, and whatever that translates into, at the end of the day, prophetess Lady Vanessa Bradley Monk, what at the end of the day, listen, as you would say, what I know is I am an enabler, and not a negative enabler. I'm a positive enabler. And so I sit here in my living room. That's where I am right now. I sit in my living room, and I sit here and I look into this lens, and I don't always know how many people are on. I don't always know who is on, but I make an intentional approach to, when I do see you, to acknowledge you. Not why? Because I want, that's what I desire. You know the reason why I call out names here? You want to know the reason, Lady Veronica, why I call out names here? Is because I know how it feels to be seen. There's a difference between wanting to be noticed and wanting, and, you know, there's a difference between wanting to be seen and being noticed, right? There are some people who just want to be seen, and then there are some, you know, there's some people who you're not trying to be, but it does something for you when someone notices, and when, you know, that's why I do it, because I want you to know that I notice you, I see you. And then watch this. If you listen long enough, I want you to see yourself and the beauty that will be unlocked when you come into the awareness of who you are. So what is it what is it, and when is it? Where is it? Environments matter. Relationships, connections, they all matter. So what is it that you do when you're doing it, that you do it, you're drawn to it naturally, you do it effortlessly, and you feel you're really in your element when you do it, right? What is it? When you identify that, then you now know, like, this is something that, this is who I am. This is not just what I do, but this is who I am. And so identifying your values is the next piece after getting acquainted with yourself, right? After that last getting to know yourself. And that doesn't stop, it continues. But step 2 to this thing is now requiring us that we identify our values, and values meaning what matters most to you. And this is going to require that you stop focusing on what matters most to everybody else concerning you. I'm glad she's on today. That she made a post yesterday, and she, you know, this filter thing, right, that people do. And Lady Monk made this post yesterday, and she says, you know, I posted all of these different ones, the natural unedited version that is just 100% all me, and then these filtered versions that it's still me, but there's some additives to that, right? And of course, knowing that there were some people who would like, you know, the natural one. There are some people, you know, who would prefer the filtered one. And then there's some people who don't like either one. They just got something to say about all of you, right? But at the end of the day, most times we live lives in filters. We filter who we are in order to adapt to what other people want from us. Listen to me. We filter who we are in order to adapt to what other people want for us. But there are two words that I want to talk about today in identifying our values. And number one is going to require authenticity. Good morning, Pastor Dwayne Johnson. It's going to require authenticity. You cannot fake this and it help. You cannot try to be somebody else and help who you really are. It's going to require authenticity, that you be authentically who you are. And now let me tell you something. I'm not that person who's saying fake it till you make it, because the longer you fake it, you'll never really make it to who you're supposed to be. The longer you keep pretending, you'll never really perform at your highest capacity, because you're always performing in someone else's shadow. So number one, we got to value authenticity. You got to be honest with you about you. If you are rude, you got to be honest with yourself and say, I'm rude. And then you got to do the work to know why you are that way. I believe personally that everyone is the way they are for a reason. And so we always look at the what, but very few people are digging into the why. There is a root. If a person has a big heart, there's a root to why they have that big heart. Likewise, if a person is stingy, if a person is selfish to the core, it's a reason why they're selfish and tight-fisted. If a person is loving, there's a reason why they're loving. If a person is hateful, if a person has prejudice, there's a root cause to all of it. But what happens is we get so messed up. We get so messed up in the way people are that we don't get to the understanding that there is a reason why they are the way they are. And if you can accept a person as is, then you're not really a friend to them. You're not really a help to them. Watch this. And me, there are people around me who know when you come around me, like I know everybody around me. And so because I know everybody around me, there's moments and instances where I'm just, I'm going to step back because I'm going to let you be, because that's who you are. And if that's who you are, there's nothing anybody can say or do in that exact moment that's going to change who you are. Now, after you've had your episode, after you've had your real moment, because all of us have our moments, man. Everybody got their ways. Don't you get up in nobody else's face and nobody else's business about how they are and what they do as if you just perfect. Like, no, all of us got our ways, and there's something about all of us that needs improvement. And it's when we do that inner work that we become our own source of help and say, nobody had to tell me I am that, because I already know that, right? And so it's the how, right? How is digging into those values, and it requires that you be authentic. It requires authenticity. It requires, Lady Stephanie Sparks, that we be authentically ourselves, and whatever that is, right? And because whatever you cannot heal from it if you hide it. You cannot hide it and expect to heal. You got to be authentic. You've got to be honest about you. Now, this is with you. Now, this is not you letting everybody come in and just, and tear you to shreds. No, this is you, right? Because self-awareness, self-knowledge, right? This is you being authentic with yourself and looking at yourself and saying, this is me. This is me. I am me. There's an affirmation for today. I am me. I'm not my parents. I love them, but I'm not my parents. I may look like them, but I am not them. I am me. I am not other people's expectations. I am me, right? And so identifying that, it requires that you have authenticity. And then number two, it requires this. It requires alignment. All right. Number two, it requires alignment. Living a value-based life requires alignment. What do you mean? Alignment with your values. alignment with the values that help increase your capacity to become the person needed to build what you desire. All right. Identifying your values is in fact a key aspect to clarifying what you want in life, because it is a life that is aligned, that achieves. It's alignment that helps us accomplish. It is alignment that becomes that magnet, that drawing force. Alignment says this, that I'm only going to ascribe to and be available for what is in agreement with my authentic self. Right? I'm only going to accept what helps grow me. Alignment says this: a life aligned to your values is saying, I'm going to be intentional about what feeds me, who I listen to, what I listen to, what I accept, and what I reject. Alignment says this: I'm going to give myself the ability to have what I need in order to become who I'm supposed to be. It's values, right? It's values. It's identifying exactly what it is that matters most to you. And once you've identified what matters most to you, you then ask yourself another question, right? Because we believe in asking questions and then answering those questions. So it's easy to say, I want to be healthier. I want to live a healthy life. That's a want. That could be a desire. But you have to have the value that is required. You see, you got the what, but now you need the how. And the how is the value. And so a person, if you don't value if you don't value life, then the chances are you're just the person who's saying, I want to get healthier. I want to live a healthier life. But if you don't have the values associated with healthy living, then you're not gonna see it. The value is not just in health. The value is in life. When you value life, it'll have you saying no to stuff that you really have an appetite for. When you really value life, it will have you in pain, because you are intentionally making decisions that align with your value. If you value life, and there is something that is in your life that is potentially threatening your very existence, value says, I value living more than I value drinking. I value living more than I value eating. And so if I have to fast, if I have to abstain, if I have to deny myself, come on, it's painful. And the reason why so many people are not living out their purpose is because what we're not talking about is the fact that living a value-based life, it becomes painful when you've just been used to living just any kind of life. It's painful, but let me tell you, no pain, no gain. There's going to be great reward that's going to come out of it. But our values are important for this very reason, Pastor Cecil Smith, because values are like a compass. And that values are like a compass that will keep us headed in a desired direction. And watch this, keep us on a distinct path to purpose. Did you hear me? Values are like a compass that guide us in the right direction and keep us on a distinct path to purpose, right? Because your way cannot be everybody else's ways. I hear the Bible this morning. I hear Matthew says that broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, but narrow is the way that leadeth to eternal life. And here's what the Bible says. The Bible says there are few that find the narrow way. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same. I don't replace. I don't replace what I'm doing. There is no secular versus spiritual over here with me. It's all spiritual. It's all spiritual. It's just that these are things that as a church that we don't always give voice to, but it's important that we're telling people and that we're helping people in the context of who they are, not just what we want them to be in order to make the church look good, but who we desire to that they see for as themselves. It requires that we preach this message that says it's a narrow way. Achievers take a narrow path. Those who live in accomplishment, they had to take the narrow road. Those people who are high level livers, they had to take broad is the way. I mean, anybody can get on the broad road, but it's the narrow road that few people get on because it requires you to do work. It requires you to be authentic. On the broad road, you can go on there and you can create your own identity. Be whoever you want to be. On the broad road, you can live your own truth, even if your truth is a lie. On the broad road, I mean, it's just whatever goes. But on the narrow road, it requires that we be authentic. It requires that we live in alignment. It requires that we have an awareness of who we are. Who are you? You are God's workmanship. Who are you? You are God's idea. Who are you? You are you. Come on, say it with me. I am me. I am me. I embrace me. I embrace the idea of me that started with God. I am God's idea. So it requires a narrow road. It requires a narrow way. Watch this. And there's no traffic on the narrow road. It's congested on the broad road, but there's no traffic on the narrow road, right? So it's choosing that road that serves towards helping us become better versions of ourselves. And today you got to affirm, I am me. I am me. I am me. I'm not the me that people expect me to be, but I am the me who God created me to be. And guess what? You've got to give yourself grace to grow, because as you're doing the work to identify your values, you're going to and become more aware about your authentic self, like what you're drawn towards, that's who you are. And once you know who you are, it helps you eliminate from people wanting you to be who you are not. And it helps you live in the alignment of that's who I am. I was going through this list of words, and listen, if you want to do this work, you got to send me a message and I can send you this list of words. And you're going to go through this list of words, and you're going to literally identify those that identify with you, right? And so I'm going through these words, and I've been telling people, like, for the last couple of years, a few things that matter to me the most, and I'm over my time, so I'll say this quickly, but there were three things that matter to me the most right now. There's three things that matter to me the most right now. They're coaching, conversation, and community. Those are the things for the last 2 years have mattered the most to me. And so coaching, community, and conversation, those, like, I value those things. I value those things because I want to always remain coachable. I want to remain coachable. Nikisha Jackson, if we're not coachable, then we're missing that component that is needed to help unlock and tap into the authentic version of you. I saw my mompreneur, Shakia Davis, on here. Tap into it, right? You tap into it, right? You got to identify what you value. And then I saw this one word. It's like consistency. And I'm like, woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one for me, right? Collaboration. Oh, that was. And I'm going through this list, and then it started speaking to me, and I saw elegance, and I'm like, oh yeah, everybody, man, listen, I am the meticulous guy. I was the nine, I was a little boy in the thrift store with my mama buying wine glasses as a little boy. I mean, elegance is. I value elegance. If it doesn't look right, I don't put it out. Don't people buy into your presence before they buy your product. And whatever you sell, you are your main product, right? I don't care if you sell hats. Your hats are not your main product. You are the main product, right? And you got to be convinced of your product. You got to be sold on your product, even if your product is not selling, right? You got to be sold on it. And when the more you're sold on it, your value increases, and your value determines the price of your presence. And so as your value goes up, the price of your presence goes up, and it'll help eliminate people who have low value lives, because when you become a high value version of you, low value people will fall off automatically. They won't want to be around you, even if you have a heart for them, but they won't desire to be around you, not because you think you're better than everybody else, but just because you've done the work to become a higher value version of yourself. You did your work. You did it, right? When you do it, you define your values, and your values are telling, this is who I am. And when you know who you are, people know how to address you. People know how to approach you. Right? So you identify this. I gotta go. But one of the biggest things about me, I'm a very spontaneous person. I'm a very spontaneous person. Yes, people buy into your presence way before they even consider buying your product. So yeah, that's just a whole nother subject, a whole nother session. But identifying these values, I saw this other word and it says spontaneity, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yesterday, I re-aired a session from last year on how it is that sometimes routine can be good in establishing a rhythm, but you have to know when you've mastered that rhythm and when it's time to create another one. And so don't let routine become a barrier or a hindrance. But knowing you, I know I'm just a spontaneous person. Like, my wife will tell you, I have an idea, and like, I'm not trying to wait to the weekend. Here's what I value. I value being able to live every day. I'm not just living for the weekend. I value living every day. And so if I want it today, I have the idea today, chances are I'm ready to go today. It's just who I know. I know me. And when you know yourself, knowing the who helps determine the what. So I want you to spend some time, set a meeting with yourself. I want you to do this. Those of you who are actually getting this, those of you who are actually following along with this. Well, hey, nephew, those of you who are actually ready to do the work, those of you who have made a determination that you are going to put in the work and the effort to identifying and knowing what it is that you desire in life, making a decision and heading in that direction, you got to spend some time today, every day. Map out, schedule a meeting with yourself and ask yourself, like, what matters to me? And listen, if you need a prompt, I told you I got this list of words. I got to send me a message. I'll get it to you. And we'll walk through it, how you can start the process and the path to identifying your values so that you can be clear, right? Because when you understand your values, understanding your values is what helps to gain and go in the direction. And then somebody says, well, I don't know. Well, understanding your values is how we're going to help clarify and clear up the I don't knows. And not knowing, it's time to not be okay with not knowing. It's okay to not know initially, but it's time to not be okay with continuing to live without knowing. Right. And I want you to have a solid basis on which to make decisions about what you truly desire in life. It's okay to have desires. We submit them to God, and then the Bible says He establishes those. So understanding you helps, understanding yourself helps you identify what your values are. And once you identify those values, we then ask ourselves, what is it that I can do to help implement and express these values in any given area of my life that will help increase my capacity to become the person to be what I desire to be. All right, that's it. I'm done. Come back tomorrow and we'll dive more into this value-based living concept. But I want you to know that it's important that you know who you are. And once you knowing the who helps give clarity to the what. It's not always that we don't know. It's what we know challenges us, and what we have to be ready. And we have to be ready to accept the challenge. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's challenging. I was sitting with my daughter yesterday. Thank you, Lady Connie. I was sitting with my daughter yesterday, and she's going to be a senior in high school next year. Go figure. And well, according to her, she's already a senior. She done crossed over. So according to her, she's already a senior. I was sitting with her yesterday at lunch, and I asked her. I said, "Hey," I said, baby girl, you know, like, you got an idea of what you want to do after high school? Now, we've had this conversation before, but it changes. And so she starts telling me, and then I asked her this question. I said, well, you think you're ready to be on your own? And she says immediately, she's like, oh no, I don't think I am. She's like, and it's just, I just think it's gonna be hard. And I told my daughter, I said, I'm looking at my 16-year-old daughter. I'm looking at her as a father, and I'm telling her, I said, hey, babe, I said, our food gets there, and she's trying to open her bag. Right, we had seafood. We were eating seafood, and she's trying to open her bag, and she's like, Dad, can you help me? And I told her, I said, is it hard? She said, yeah. I said, well, what if we change our language and just what if we replace the word hard with challenging? And she says, huh? I said, so what if we replace the word hard with challenging? So instead of saying it's hard, we say it's challenging. I said, just try it. And she's like, okay, well, it's challenging, right? Well, I'm literally walking through this with her in real time. And then I said, the difference, if you say it's hard, it's really going to be hard. If you say it's challenging, there's going to be it will be challenging, but it helps redefine. It helps redefine what the issue really is. The issue is not that it's hard. The issue is that there's a challenge that's associated. And the only thing that you can do with a challenge is is take a stab at it. You gotta go at it. You gotta try it. You gotta do something. But if you say a thing is gonna be hard, it will be harder than it really is. But if you switch your language from it's hard to it's challenging, then you now can say to yourself, well, I have the capacity to handle this challenge. And then so you work through what you thought you could not do. When you switch your language about it, you end up being able to do it. It's not that the weight gets easier, it's that the muscle gets stronger. Right? And so I'm encouraging us today, just like I encouraged my daughter, that you got to be open to the challenge and not just say it's hard, but just it's challenging. It is challenging undoing who you've always been to become a person to become someone you've never been before, while still being who you are and having to undo Right? It's challenging. It's challenging, but let me tell you this: that a value-based life says if you value achievement, if you value accomplishment, then you're going to follow the law of sacrifice that says in order to go up, you must also be willing to give up. So right next to the goals, we're not just setting goals, but we're also setting our trade-offs, right? Because in order to accomplish it, I'm going to have to give up this. In order to become that, I'm going to have to undo this, right? And so identifying your values, and then when you identify those, then you're now doing the framework for how and to what extent that value is going to be expressed in any given area of your life. And as you do it, you start tapping into your full potential and unlocking whatever is next for you. May I say, may I say that I'm excited for the work that you're doing, your inner work. I'm excited for it. Pastor Christopher Gray, I'm excited for it. DA, I'm excited for it. Dorsey, I'm excited for it. When I say I'm excited for it, I am Adrian. I'm excited for this process to purpose. I want to talk tomorrow about passions in relation to values, and so hey, here's your invitation. Here's your sign to come back tomorrow, 10 a.m. right here, same place, as we continue to help tap into our full potential to unlock what's next for you. Thank you for being on. If you would, I would so appreciate it if you would help us expand our reach. Tag somebody right here in the comments who needs this conversation. Share this with someone who needs it, and I would so greatly appreciate it. To all of you, let's go have a great day. Let's do it on purpose. It's a good day to have a good day and make it an epic one. Till next time, nephew, I'll see you tomorrow.